In this bold episode of Live the Battlefield, I sit down with Mistress Lucilla, Australia Queen of BDSM, to uncover the hidden world of power, control, and desire. With over 20 years of experience, Lucilla reveals why men seek mistresses, the psychology of submission, and the fine line between empowerment and obsession. She shares what most dominatrixes won't tell you, the emotional cost, the unspoken truths about love, and why society still fears this world. Question is BDSM liberation or escape? Why do powerful men crave submission? This conversation will challenge everything you think you know. Ask yourself, are you ready for the truth? Let's dive in. Welcome, Lucilla. Welcome, Lucilla.
Good morning, Mario. How are you today?
Not bad. How better to start a Friday morning, 10 o'clock, than having you here in studio with me.
Flattery will get you absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, look, I'm blushing already. So, look, first of all, thank you for the coming today. Like, it means a lot to me that you found the time we talk about some spicy, kinky stuff most of people dream about.
Yeah, spicy, kinky stuff. It's woo.
Yeah, I have goosebumps now.
You're very, very easy to ruffle, aren't you?
Yeah, it does, at least. By ties, I kind of lost my voice. So, two things.
Yes.
I have 15 questions on mine. However, thanks to you and your initiative, you ask people to ask you questions.
I ask the listeners, yes.
Okay. But let's go start from the beginning,
yes.
Right? One of the questions was the earliest exposure to kink you had? But I want to draw it a little bit back.
Yes.
I mean, Mistress Lucilla, she didn't just become overnight. There must be the point in time where you become the mistress and then expose yourself to the kink. And what was the first kink you actually experienced?
I think there were multiple touch points in my childhood where, if you look back and go, oh right, there was signs. Yeah. I think I talked about going to a very posh girls' school, which is just the breeding ground of having to be mean and dominant to survive. So I think that was a good starting point for me. I remember, I knew I was never going to be the richest, had a chance of potentially being the smartest, so I had to be the meanest. So that was was running rackets throughout the school. And I remember we had to go for an interview if we wanted to be a prefect or school captain. So, of course, I thought, well, I want to be school captain because I want to be the leader. And you had to go for an interview with the principal. Yeah. And you have to fill out the application form, send it in. So I had the interview. Principal walks in and just looks at me and starts laughing. And I was a little bit confused as to why. Why are you laughing? And she said to me, you know what? You remind me of Charles Manson. And I said, do I now? And I said, thank you for the compliment. I'm 17 at this point. What a cocky little shit. And I said to her, and she's like, so you know who he is? I said, of course I do. And I said, why is that? And she said, because you know what? You're up to something, but we just can't catch you because you're too good. And she's like, get out. And I said, why aren't you taking my application seriously? She's like, there's no chance in hell that you'll be a leader at the school. Get out.
How did you take it that moment when someone told you can't be what you want to be?
Oh, I was annoyed and I was frustrated, but I just kept doing what I was going to doing because I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to be. I only just did it really as a bit of a joke, and also because I wanted to get in, find what systems they've got, break them, and use them to my own advantage, and figure out, what could it be for me? How could I make this better? It's a very Aquarian thing of finding the system, breaking it, and reinventing it. But it's a very very posh school, and there's probably no systems at all other than money, really. So, but I I didn't really fully understand the Charles Manson thing at the time. I knew who he was, but then I researched and went, okay.
You think I'm
a... psychopathic, sociopathic murderer. But I think what she was meaning is that you make others do your bad work, but we can't catch you.
You are somebody who is leading people into the
wrong places.
In the wrong places, eh?
But I think I'd like to think now that I lead them into the right places. But going back to that, so there was that. Also, I used to be a show jumper, horse rider.
Okay.
I started riding when I was 5, which was clearly not that long ago. And
you know, I like your cheekiness, your sense of humor. Actually, I like it. Yeah, no, I do actually.
Well, you've got to have a laugh.
Yeah, it is. Life is enough serious.
Exactly.
So 5 years ago, you were the horse jumper.
So the show jumper. So I did that for quite some time, and me being me, always got to try and be the best that I possibly can. And I remember, obviously, there's a lot of leather involved in horses, because saddles, bridles, boots, and I just remember the smell, and I was like, I'm like, oh, and obviously, leading and I loved big horses. I never wanted a pony. I wanted a 17-hand big stallion motherfucker.
Yeah.
I always wanted the big alpha horses.
The biggest
and
one, yeah.
I wanted to I was very good at taming them and training them and all that kind of stuff. So I think that could be perhaps an early sign of
something
leather fetish.
Yeah.
And wanting to tame the untamable. And I know that now, even some of the stuff that I have at the dungeon.
So can we say that your first fetish was actually, your first kink was smell of the leather?
Leather.
Yeah. What's so special about leather?
Oh, it's just there's something about it. It's like the second skin. Have you ever worn leather before?
No.
Wow. No. The day is young. The day is young.
Okay.
The day.
I like how you say that. Okay.
I like the way it feels, the smell of it. There's just something I find quite, arousing about it.
Arousing, yeah.
It makes you feel beautiful. I guess it's, the symbolism. Get your words out. The symbolism of perhaps fetish, because leather is fetishized, and I think that's also with my dabble into riding motorbikes. That's also wearing leather as well, and you walk in. So going into saddle shops and bike shops, it's fine when you go into kink shops. I'm like, oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that one. Yeah,
sorry about that. Actually, not really sorry at all. So there's that, and then also I remember. Do you remember when in the 90s when Madonna brought out erotica?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Now I was about 10 at that point, 9, 10, something like that, and I remember being absolutely fascinated by this album and the music videos and drawn to this visual language that she was creating. And I remember shortly after she brought out the sex book, which I think it was banned because it was... Yeah, it was, that stage, yes. Yes, yeah, and one of my beautiful clients recently gave me that book. Yeah. It was the first time in my life I've ever seen it. And I'm just like, wow, blew my mind with the photography, the creativity, the boldness of that book. If she did it now, just be like, oh, is that it? But like the fact that I think it was 92 or 93 when it came out, and I'm not an authority on when that book was published, but it's just beautiful. And I remember pestering my mum, I want this book, and she said, you will not be having that book. And I think my sister or cousin or something had got the album, and I went and listened to it when no one was around. And obviously there's erotica and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, what is this? And I was just fascinated by it. You know what I think? We spoke before the interview. I don't make the prophecies in my life. I'm using the powers given to me by God. But I like to make a prophecy that you're going to make the book as well. One day soon you're going to make a book which is better. And the difference between you and Madonna is two distinguished differences. One, it's Madonna, she done because of the popularity and her fame, she needed to do this one. Secondly, other people done this for her. In other hand, you are living that life, you experience that life, and you're doing this because you want to share experiences from real life. And that's the thing about the book as well. And I one of the barriers, we were talking about barriers for getting the book done. There's a bunch of memoirs written by dominatrices and sex workers. So it's like everyone's got a podcast, everyone's got a fucking book. And that's okay, go for it. Everyone's got a story to tell, which is great. I am quite creative. Like I love photography. I love David Lynch visuals. I know that like John Galliano is doing an exhibition in Japan and like just the visual imagery. Like I love what's that Melbourne artist who had that exhibition last year? And I can't remember his name, but we'll come back to it. But I love dark visual imagery and I love the creativity behind it. And I feel like the book needs to be a bunch of... Actually, I've just figured it out. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Fantastic.
You're welcome. See, I'm sent you by the providences.
A bunch of unrelated but relatable short stories.
Yes.
With a bunch of visual media that accompanies it.
Can I share something with you? Like,
Yes.
like I say, like, obviously I'm older than you. I'm 52 years old. And I do remember, I always say, even say to my son today, my son is 22 years old. And by that stage, I only had the one girlfriend, right? I was in a war.
Yes.
I was very sad. She left me and all these things. I want to die, blah, blah, blah. But before I ventured into the life, of the adults, we all kids shared was with a magazine called Erotica, right?
Yes.
Basically, it was a very few images, but a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And we all, reading stories was like, wow, imagination.
Yeah.
Now, as I said to my son, everything is there. You don't need to read, it's available. But that's not imagination. Henceforth, what I think and I believe that world needs to, Mistress Lucilla, publish the book one day soon. Not just a one chapter, or two chapters, or, one part or two parts, but I think series of this, because it's going to create a legacy. You know what I mean? That's
The legacy of Lucilla.
Legacy Lucilla. Why not?
It sounds like I'm dying.
No. Dying. Look like J.K. Rowling, she's alive, so she done
This
that.
is true.
So like, you create it now. Whatever you create now, it's going to create what's it called, the waves and echoes in the future. And maybe one day you're going to have your apprentices, maybe more, like, who knows. So, first king was a horse.
I think there's a bunch of those.
Yeah.
And also because I matured sexually quite young. Like I got my periods when I was about 10. So most girls are sort of like, 13, 14, about that age. So I sort of came into that world quite early and the hormones kicked in and I sort of understood. And I looked older than what I should have. So I kind of started and I enjoyed that kind of feeling of people looking at you and boys and everything else. The rest of my friends were scared of boys. I was hunting them down at the age of 12 or something ridiculous. And I guess it was that confidence and that desire to be curious and to find out sort of more. And then I guess because going back to being attracted sort of like the darkness, like I love abandoned. Roan's the artist. Roan, the artist in Melbourne.
Okay, yes, yeah.
If he ever does an exhibition, you've got to go. It's life changing. But you should get him on the podcast. He's brilliant. Anyway,
I'm gonna get him on podcast. I'm gonna say to him, Ron, I interviewed Mrs. Lucilla. She says you're the best guy ever to be on my podcast.
Ever.
Okay.
And you've got to get, what's her name? Evie Pomporis.
Sounds familiar. I don't know why.
She's recently on Diary of a CEO.
Okay.
And what's his name? Steve, whatever. And I think she
Steve
was
Barrett,
on.
yeah.
And she was on, I think she was on Neil's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so similar to you, she was a New York cop, CIA, all that kind of stuff. And now she's sort of coming out and she's written a book on how to be bulletproof. Mm-hmm. And I think her methodology is fabulous. Anyway, what was I saying? I went down.
We're talking about artists. We talk about, how earlier you become a very...
yes.
10 years old, you had the periods.
See, you become very distracted. So, again, always being sort of attracted...
I have that.
I know. How very naughty boy.
Yeah, no, I like
what happens when you're naughty, Mario? What happens?
Look, I remember my mom, she will call
Look me in the eye and tell me what happens when you're naughty.
No, I'll be reprimanded by my mom, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Am I your mother to know?
We could talk about this later. It's a my podcast. It's like you're the guest, you know what I mean? You see how, guys, I was expecting, that was not scripted. So...
Nothing scripted. So, being attracted to darkness. I love abandoned buildings and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually I became a goth.
Okay.
Oy. And we all go through phases. It's something, obviously, looking by my wardrobe is something that's necessarily hasn't left me. And I would go to Gallery Serpentine on Emerald Road, and I think I was about 15, 16 at the time, and you buy your corsets and all your stuff. I just thought it was like goth wear, but a lot of it's actually fetish wear. I'm sort of learning more about this kind of life. And I knew that everyone would go to this place called Hellfire and they would go to these parties and wear their clothes. I'm like, I want to go. And so I found out where it was and obviously snuck myself in because no one cared about ID then. And it was actually a BDSM fetish play party. And that's when all of this, I had this sort of epiphany of like, this all makes sense now. This all makes sense. This is where I'm supposed to be experiencing and doing and living. And that's when it sort of started. And I didn't really know what it was. I was very lucky enough to be, in a safe environment. No one ever took advantage of me. But I thought that I was submissive.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
And I remember I saw this really, really cute man and I was like, you're really cute. Like, again, he's 15, 16. You don't really know what you're doing, but you're just sort of going with it anyway.
Yeah.
And we were sort of playing around and I was wanting to sort of spend time with him because I thought he was quite attractive. And he's like, this is not going to work. I said, what do you mean? And he's like, look, I really like hanging out with you and you're great and you're fun and everything.
He says this to you, right? Yeah, okay.
And I'm just like, huh?
And?
And he goes, but this is not going to work. He says, because I'm dominant and you're dominant. And how you're not submissive to me. And I'm like, you want me to be submissive to you? He goes, yeah. I'm like, fuck that, see you later. But I did try, genuinely I did try, but it's just not going to.
It doesn't work.
You can't force something that you're not.
So, as we mentioned at the beginning, you had a couple of questions you wrote with you. So, let me start with one burning question. That was as you read it, was so many times being asked, how tall you are. I know how tall you are. Okay, so guys, so for all those you who asked Mistress Lucilla on our app and via social media, how tall Mistress Lucilla is, answer is
5'5" with no heels.
5 by 5.
5'5", no heels. So I'm short. I'm short. I'm small but mighty.
Mighty. That's
small but mighty. And also, good things come in small packages like poison.
We're supposed to tell. Okay, the question is when we talk about high heels, what's your preference of the brand or, okay, guys, ready? I'm hoping that people now, they're watching now.
So I have a personal fetish which keeps me very poor of collecting Christian Louboutin shoes. Louboutin shoes. I love the red soles. I love the way they make you feel.
It is that power.
It's that power. And it's a very cliched sex work, I think, because everyone's got Louboutins, but I've got 37 pairs of them.
Okay. You're close to the Imelda Marcos. You know who she was?
Yes, I love. Yeah,
she 3,000.
Saint Imelda, thank you very much.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Getting there.
How do you choose them one per day? Per client desire, or how do you feel?
Well, it's because the thing about Louboutins is because the red soles, and it's only recently. You should do a podcast about me with Louboutins. I can talk for hours about the shoes.
We can talk about
I can bring them all in. But I think, for me, I love the way they make me feel. They're beautiful. They're very fetishy. But the thing about the red soles is, up until recently, because they've just changed it with the everlasting red sole, which is rubber instead of lacquer, is that you can't wear them because then you ruin the red soles. So I've got them in different. So I've got ones that I can wear out. I've got photo shoot shoes, and then I've got so fucking rare that these ones are photo shoot shoes, and so they're only worn on carpet and never on.
Yeah, you're on the right places, carpet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I've got the rare as fuck, and they never come out of the box.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on. I've got a few clients who like to worship the Louboutins. I would love a client who has a fetish to buy me Louboutins.
Guys. All those who ask Mr. Lucilla questions, how tall she is, you got the 5 by 5 without heels, but she prefer Louboutins.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna give me this correctly so you can tag them into into this podcast.
Into the podcast.
So they're gonna be very happy.
You got to put it out there.
I saw Louboutin in Singapore recently. I was just passing by the shops, and I must say that they have the punch with the price. So but they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're beautiful. They are very beautiful. But it is. It's.
So the client who is.
I've got clients who like to lick them, so therefore I'll pick These would be, see, I would wear these for ball busting. Consensually, of course.
Of course, yeah. We come to that question.
Of course. And it's probably more about, because they're a fetish icon. Like Christian Louboutin has done or did a collaboration with David Lynch, my favourite director in the whole entire world, about shooting fetishizing the Louboutin shoes, which is beautiful. I'd love to get that book one day. And it's just a bunch of photography of classic, beautiful fetish stuff, because high heels are very much, I mean, foot worship is so popular. Right?
It is,
feet,
it is,
everyone's into feet. Everyone's into feet. I'm not into feet personally, but
you can't be into feet because it's your feet they're worshipping, right?
Yeah, exactly. But but it's funny. Like when I have to go and get a pedicure, I hate it. I really don't like people touching my feet. Like, because if you don't know if you don't know how to, like, if it's a bit rough, and also the paddle's not very nice. But anyway, but there's so many people that are into feet. It's.
Why is that? What do you think? Like I know it's a mixture question, but
yeah.
as we progress in our interview, like, why the feet? You know what I mean? Why the feet? I say again, as a teenager, I know that look. You know, when you said to me, "What's happened to you if you're not good enough?" You know, what I mean, whatever, you're reprimanding me. I remember the teachers in school, and I'm talking about 70s, right? You know, maybe the stockings, the teacher will come, that line at the back, you know what I mean? We didn't know what the stockings they are, but, we all like kids like, oh my God,
everyone loves the backseam stocking.
Yeah, so like, why the feet?
Why the feet? It's Sigmund Freud.
Yes.
Has put it down to that it symbolises a penis, which is quite mindfucky. It could be considered an erogenous zone. The way, like, so it's foot fetish.
Yeah.
The foot fetish can be sort of, it means different things to different people. People, like, I've got a client who loves the sound of when I take the shoe off of the heel makes as it comes out of the shoe. It's the sound. And so he'll just sit there and play with the shoe and lick it and take it on and off, and that's his arousal. A lot of people are into the arch, so the shape the arch make, and then you can get sort of more into, like, don't wash your feet for days. They love it dirty, the smell, all that kind of stuff. It depends on where it comes from for you personally, and it means so many things to different people. But then there's, like, the toes. Some people get very much into the shape of the toes, licking the toes. It could be considered an erogenous zone, and I guess pulling back and looking at culturally, feet is something that is often seen when you're naked or in it, like something like a swimming zone or something like that. So it is a sign, I guess, of...
I should take it back to my home in Croatia when we make the
I'd love
wine.
to go to
when I
Croatia.
wine, the women go in bare feet,
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, can you finish it? As a kid, all these women that dance all day and that on the grapes, it's like, oh my, the man will just be drunk. But now this is fetish. Can you
I reckon there is someone in this world somewhere right now who would have a fetish for women stomping on grapes to make wine.
So
100%. That's a great content idea.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Because that is, like when you grow up in an environment as I did, most of the things, when you see all these women, romp and stomp on a grapes, and my father will be drunk with all these guys. We kids will need to be, bring all that grapes.
Yeah.
Just piss you off, just want to finish, you want to play, But now I understand the guys will drink, the ladies will, pull the skirts up, all shapes, sizes and forms, and
Exactly.
the smell of the grapes and everything. I see.
It's intoxicating.
Okay.
Right.
Let's go now deep.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dive into psychology BDSM, right?
Okay, what have you got?
Okay, I have we answer something which is how tall you are. We have more questions, a lot of questions. But what truly drives people to seek out BDSM? Is it power, pleasure, or
all of
something
the above?
deeper?
Well, BDSM can mean many things to many people, which is this is going to be a very long answer to the question.
We have all the time on this world.
We do.
Yeah,
we do. Let's start with a simple answer.
Yeah.
There's fetish, and then there's fetish and there's kinks. So therefore, I guess if we look at the straight vanilla world, is that there's generic sex, and then there's deviations from that, which is where we sort of get into the kink world. some people use it. So say if you have a very stressful job, if you're managing a bunch of people, or a lot of people in the military seem to be drawn into kink and BDSM, just saying.
Okay.
Not giving any names or anything else, but just as a generic thing. It's
Okay.
if I'm in control all the time, I have to tell people what to do all the time. I want to give it over to someone else so I can just relax, forget what it is, and just enjoy myself. Or some people use it to unpack trauma.
Okay.
Some people say if it's more of a fetish thing versus a BDSM, like say, for example, if a man likes to dress up as a woman, it could be something that you want to share with somebody. And I guess this is probably, we'll get to this question a bit later of, doing it with your partner or not doing it with your partner. It's something that you would want to share with someone, and it's something that perhaps a person without experience in the BDSM lifestyle or industry would know how to be in that time together, know how to dress you up, know how to guide you, all that kind of stuff. It could be to sort of experience something new. I know I've had like an influx of wonderful couples lately who have been together a long time. They've had the conversation about like, I want to spice things up. Things are a little bit boring. Maybe I want to try this. And I think it's really exciting that you've had the conversation to try and do something. It could be for you, it could not be for you, and that's okay. But it's taking the courage to try. I always say never die wondering. And that's really great. But I think the psychology of it is complex. There's multiple layers of it. It could be something like, oh, I just like being spanked. Well, where did that come from? Why do you like being spanked? Let's just use it as an example. Because your relationship with pain is you feel aroused by being smacked on your bottom. Or you were bent over, a teacher caned you, and you thought the teacher was hot. And from that moment, in your early cognitive years as a teenager, that is what you found arousing. So therefore, that has forever shaped your sexuality.
That's very interesting. That is very interesting. That some things negative in my life would actually become the catalyst to excitement.
So when in all my uni degrees, my thesis was on the psychology of BDSM, which Sydney University hated.
Okay.
We got it done.
I just like how you said this. They hate it.
There was multiple meetings. Anyway, so obviously I had studied different people. And I think what was really interesting was that I got to meet different people with different fetishes and kinks and all that kind of stuff. And one particular person comes to mind where this is quite an unusual fetish, is that he would book sex workers. He didn't really know who to book. He just knew he had to go to he couldn't just go to what I'm going to call a generic woman, like a everyday woman, and have this experience because they wouldn't necessarily understand it.
Yeah.
So he'd book a sex worker because obviously we're assumed, I think at that point dominatrices were a little bit harder to find, so he'd just book escorts, which is fine. So his thing was, it was helping them not get undressed but dressed. So he would bring along, it wasn't necessarily about stockings or shoes or anything else. It was about putting on a overcoat or a trench coat and gloves and a scarf and a hat. And that was kind of, and then sort of looking at the person, and then he would feel, not necessarily, it was maybe in arousal, like it was complex, but felt love and felt emotional intimacy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So it wasn't anything like, didn't feel anything when the person would take off the outfit. It was helping that person put it on. And so it was holding up the coat, the arms going in, helping with the buttons, helping put the gloves on. And they weren't leather gloves, they were just generic. Sometimes they would be knitted gloves, so there would be nylon gloves, whatever. They weren't fetishy kind of gloves. It was just generic clothes. And he goes, I don't really understand what where this came from. And I said, okay. So eventually we got to the bottom of it, is that his parents, he grew up in, and it could never be wool. It could never be wool. He had a hard limit on wool. And we got to the bottom of it because I think it's a lot of his childhood he couldn't remember, is that his parents were killed in a car crash when he was 3 or 4, quite young, and he was sent to go and live with his grandparents, who were, I would say, traditional grandparents, were not overly, loving and doting and stuff as they are today.
Yeah.
So the only real sort of love, connection, intimacy that he would feel was helping his grandmother get dressed to go out. And because they lived in New Zealand, it was the gloves, the coat, the this, and as a way of saying, help grandma put the coat on, and then that was his, and that's like it wasn't any hugs or anything else like that. There was no tucking into bed and reading a story. That was his only or first foray into touching a woman and feeling connection, and he fetishized that. But I was like, well, where did the wool thing come from? And they had a farm, and all he could remember was hearing the sheep getting slaughtered, and he didn't understand what it was because they never really told him. So he's like, I hate wool, and I don't want to have anything to do with wool, but he never ever had sex, like traditional sex with a woman, because he's just, I don't really understand it, but that's what he wanted to do. So he fetishized it as a way of coping by his lack of, I guess, love and emotional intimacy from a sort of parental figure, and having to sort of, I guess, because of their sort of cold, harsh environment to a point inside the home of not giving him his emotional needs and losing his parents and all that kind of stuff, he got to the point where he fetishized putting on clothes on his grandma.
You know what I'm admiring about you? Like, with you, I couldn't even imagine where this conversation is going to go. Right? You know what I mean? When you talk to the dominatrix, you expected a lot of sex, just all these fantasies, everything else. However, you are not just very well educated, but you are caring about people to understand their desires, because understanding psychologists and understanding people how to approach the desires, which that makes you very dangerous, dominatrix, because you're going to know, I want to have wool gloves. You're going to say, I know why wool gloves, or whatever, that's something like this.
But the next person, they'll be like, I don't give a shit about wool gloves.
Yeah.
It's such a unique story. It's like everyone's fabric is woven so uniquely that no two fabrics are the same. It's like I get asked to what are the most common requests that you get? I'm like, oh God, this is different every day.
Yeah.
It's different every day, and that's fantastic. And I think when you do get to session with people over the years, not often are the sessions different, of course, though, because people's desires change, which I think is brilliant. It's like we're organic human beings, and
is your desire change with the time?
Mine?
Yes.
I think it has.
Okay.
I think it has. Yeah.
I'll cover that question to be later, because I'm very curious about this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's just talk more about this dominatrix and how to say the other person, submissive, slave, or is that how you call them?
Look,
how you call the other person? Your dominatrix?
It could be a submissive. Let's call, because I think a slave is a different dynamic altogether.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a dominant,
yeah,
and then there's a submissive.
Okay, submissive. So submissive side.
Yes.
You need to build that trust with the client, right? Which is that 100% consent with the clients. That was one of the questions you've been asked, right? You know what I mean? So I want to ask you, how do you build that consent and boundaries with the clients? You know what I mean? Obviously, there's no questionnaire form where you're born, next kin, all these things, like you go to the GP. But how do you build the trust, or how the submissive person build a trust with you? I'm very curious. Obviously,
of course,
they contact you via social media platforms, word, mouth, whatever it is. Somebody referred to you.
Contact through social media because I'll get banned.
Okay, they contact you.
Email or text. Because don't get me started on social media.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Please, yeah. So let's go talk about consent.
Okay, consent.
Trust. Yeah.
Yes, consent and trust. That is a very, very important thing to talk about, because that consent is so important to understand. I love the fact, or actually I love and I don't love the fact that when you turn on the TV at night, there's now ads about consent on TV, which troubles me greatly, that people need to be reminded through a 30-second television ad what consent is, but let's talk about it from a BDSM point of view. So I am equally humbled and pleased that someone has selected me or trusted me enough to reach out and ask me to do a bunch of stuff they most likely haven't had done to them before. I find that a very, very, very beautiful thing, and it's something that I don't take for granted and am very humbled by that each and every time, and that never changes. But the whole consent thing, like so if I meet someone for the first time, we'll talk about, I guess it's a little bit like an interview of like, tell me your story briefly. So it'll take about 5 to 10 minutes just to talk about, why are we here today? Obviously, they tell me what they want to do in the inquiry, but then things change. I'm like, okay, so this is what you asked for. Is this how we're feeling today? Or we've changed it up. Do you want me to explain it? So
it's like a dating, right? First time.
It's like, speed dating.
Yeah,
it really is. It's like, okay, so you want this, like, have you done this before? Tell me about it. Did you like about it? What didn't you like about your last session? Because if I need to fix something or if we need to unpack the no-go zone. So some people know what they want because they've researched it, and some people don't know what they want. So therefore, it's a little bit of a Q&A of trying to tease it out of them. Because there's nerves as well. You're meeting someone for the first time. It's not like you're popping down to the shop and buying a litre of milk. And it's something that you're
No, sorry, I'm laughing, but it's like, as I said, like, this is what I like about you. Conversation with you is not just, straightforward. This is what I'm doing. This is what the fetishes they are. But there's a human side of you. And I said that's what I try to articulate. It's a dangerous in one way because it can be very seductive for the submissive person. Secondly, you are very well versed in what you're doing, which makes other person safe in being in safe hands with you.
And I explain it. Like my words that I say to them, I'm like, okay, so let's talk about consent and safe words. So I always say I encourage and I welcome you to use the safe word, and I keep the safe word simple, which is mercy, because like if you think of some weird word that's I'll forget it, you'll say it, and then you're going to be stuck in a situation that's terrible. So what I say is that, by moving forward with this session is that you are agreeing for me to do X, Y, and Z to you. And that also means that you have the option and are welcomed to say the safe word, and that means...
Which is?
Mercy.
Mercy.
Some people use the traffic light system. Which is fine. We'll talk about the traffic light system as well. But also consent is that you have every right to withdraw it. So say, for example, if you're doing something like anal for the first time, there's no muscle memory in the back passage to draw on. Like, so you've got to start really, really small. You've got to take your time. You've got to allow for it to stretch out because it's going to be painful. It is. It's just like you're popping that cherry. So therefore, you haven't tried it before, and if... It's really like I find with anal, either you absolutely love it or you absolutely hate it. But for the first time, you don't know what side of the fence you're going to sit on. So therefore, if it's too much and you don't like it, you don't have to like it. We can stop. So that's why I say I'm not going to get offended by you saying the safe word. I welcome you to say it because I don't want you to be enduring something that you don't want to do because of me. Look, I'm not going to get offended. Like I'd be offended if you didn't. So therefore, and also with consent as well, if there is some trauma involved in the type of scene, you could have consent freeze. So therefore, you're not being able to talk or articulate that you don't want to do it anymore. And I think this is where experience can come in, because I can tell when things are not going a little bit south or the person's not liking it. I think it's very important to check in at that point. How are you going? Are you liking this? And if there's positive sounds, so there's obviously if a person's enjoying it and they're surrendering to the process and the experience, you're really losing themselves. It's beautiful. But if you can tell that it
stains, it's painful, or whatever it is.
It's by what they're not doing. So at that point, or if there's tears involved or something else, or if they're having some sort of nervous or psychotic episode, we need to stop that straight away. But I always need to check in, and I always say, if you can't say, or say for example, if you have a gag in your mouth and you can't talk, so how are you meant to say the safe word then? Or if you're strapped to a cross or to a bench or God knows what and you can't move, I always just say, just shake your head quickly, and that means mercy. I always give people the option, so you can say it or you can show me with your body. Or I always say, if I feel like things aren't going so well, I will check in with you and give you the option to tap out. It's like with cum eating. I love cum eating requests. Post-nut clarity is a thing. Because up until that point, you're horny and you're aroused and it's great. And it's like, I want to eat my own cum. I'm like, I'm going to give you the option. I will never make anyone eat their own cum because after you've blown your load, you're done. The fantasy's over. You don't want to eat the cum anymore.
Yeah.
Some people will. I think 5% of people who ask for it will. But as soon as you're covered
the game
in...
is finished, yeah?
Yeah, as soon as the game's finished, like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm like, of course you didn't. Go have a shower and clean your filth off.
You love being in control, right?
Do I like being in control?
Yeah.
But control's the ultimate illusion, isn't it? Who really has control? That's a very big philosophical, deep question for a Friday morning. But
look, recently
there is a theory of control, and there
please
is
tell
a
me.
principle of control.
Tell me.
So,
Give us all. Give us now, everybody who is listening and watching down. Imagine now how many executives now, they're in the bathroom in this very moment.
Jerking off.
Yeah, with the headsets and say like, I just want to know everything what this woman, she's, okay, give me
okay,
theory of
so
control.
we can talk about it from a BDSM point of view, and we can go very, very deep with it, or we can stay fluffy and light. Let's go deep. So there's the dynamic of especially like total power control. So therefore, person A comes in and says, I am giving all my safety, my everything to you for this time. So therefore, I have to make sure that you're safe, you're having a good time, that sometimes, like from a bondage point of view, some people will have really, really, really tight bondage, which I love because I love bondage. So therefore, I'm giving you control of my movement. I'm giving you control of what I do or don't do. And I'm consenting to that. So therefore, that's a big responsibility to take on board for some people. I guess I've always been a leader, natural born leader, thankfully not a natural born killer. It's something, I mean, a lot of people always said to me like, oh, how are you so confident? It's just like, well, how are you not?
Yeah.
It's something that it comes very naturally to me. So I guess I've made that into a career. But control, ultimate control, who's got it? I could walk out of here and be hit by a bus. I don't have any control over that. You could,
I agree with you.
But there's that. There's the bigger thing of control. But then there's a playful aspect of control, which we're applying to this. So therefore, it's like when you go into no mercy sessions. They're fun.
What does that mean now? I heard this no mercy
no
sessions.
mercy sessions. Okay, so that is...
But you say that the safe word is a mercy, but there's like no mercy sessions.
So even... So these are tricky ones. So they're pretty rare because you got to go pretty hard. And it's often... So this normally does involve corporal punishment, impact play, all the kind of stuff. All the good stuff.
There's a smile on your face when you say,
oh no, the inner sadist or the outer sadist, she's always there, don't you worry.
Yeah.
Behave, Lucilla. Oh, don't behave at all. I don't know. Do I know how to behave? Probably not. So no mercy. So that means I will keep caning, and there's screaming and there's a lot of pain, high pain levels. And that person will say, please stop, please stop, please stop, and I won't. Now, not everybody can do that.
Okay, I can't imagine. I mean, okay.
You've got to mentally prepare yourself for a no mercy session.
So that was agreed. You know what I mean? There's a no mercy session.
A no mercy session,
but yet you need to know where to stop, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that you do.
Okay.
Because I think I do have a couple of no mercy clients, and we only do this every couple of years because it's psychologically it's a big
step, yeah.
And I think that this person uses this to deal with PTSD. And there has been moments in the session when, I guess from a psychologist's point of view, which thankfully I have, I'm like, okay, you are not okay, and you are at this point you are not able to continue. So therefore, I've had to call mercy on their behalf. We've gone out of bondage, and we've had to take a break. I'm like, okay, talk to me. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? I need you to get this out, because I said, like, me thrashing the shit out of you against a pole to your point where your ass is bleeding and you're crying is not actually helping you unpack the trauma. And we got to the point where they're using the no mercy as a way of proving a point that they are this hard-ass person, that they can take it because they can't take the PTSD. So therefore we're having to adjust the sessions to have some of the impact play, but not as much. I said, you actually don't need it. I said, like, whatever, I don't know what this person does because they won't tell me, which I love.
Can I share something with you? One of my, it's a life story.
Yes.
The breath, okay? So
Tell me.
it was in 94, anyway, November. I was being sent to the school in Europe to go for 3 months for being training on interrogation techniques.
That's arousing already. I love torture and interrogation. I'm looking.
Look, I didn't know what that involves, but anyway, I was thinking that I know about that stage, but I didn't know because you learn it from the different experts and so on and so on. Particular language which is not yours.
Oh, yeah, of course.
3 o'clock in the morning, 4 guys come into the room, with another 50 guys in the same room, we sleeping. And they put, the black bag over my head, and they tied up my hands behind my back, and they were hitting me down the floor from the 3rd floor to down the ground floor. They were bashing me, like literally, they were destroying me, right? And they put my head in a barrel, with the water, shooting next to my ear, like breaking things on my back.
Yeah.
Give me your name. I wanted to give my name because I couldn't endure. Like after 2 hours, like literally, was a torture. Like
2 hours? That's decent.
Well,
For
but I wanted to give up, I mean, so many times, but you can't because I continuously, and I said, like, come to the point when I remember first training, they say, pain does not exist. It does exist.
It does exist.
But there's the limits. But I couldn't say my name because I collapsed. I lost the conscience, right? You know what I mean? And they said to Mari, this is very well. I was like,
well, that's one way to do it.
Am I on a heaven? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now when you talk to me about people, how they're enjoying. So describe to me that session. Just want
interrogation session or no mercy session?
No mercy session. Like just a caning. Caning. Let's go talk. No blood. But let's say like you hook up the guy obviously on something, right? Or
girl or person doesn't always have to. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't. BDSM is not just about men coming in and.
So that's our perception. Yeah.
Exactly. It's open to everybody and anybody of any capability, as long as they're over the age of 18 in New South Wales or Australia. Obviously, the age of consent, legally, you can go and see a sex worker of your choice and have an experience that you want and consent to it, etc. So caning, some people like cold caning, and what cold caning is that there's no warm-up and you just go in for the thrush. What do you mean? You've been kidnapped and interrogated, and
that's a different. That's a different.
I think you'd have a very high pain threshold that needs to be explored. Just putting it out there. I do love a good suggestion.
Well, look, it's about caning. So like caning. Okay. So sorry, that's the caning. It's a caning.
Yeah. So it's rattan cane. It could be could be very thin, and as you get a little bit, so thin is very stingy.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about my branches.
And then you can get to more of your Singaporean canes, which are thicker and they're more thuddy.
Singaporean canes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do love. I love a good cane. So therefore, you would normally warm up. So start off with a bit of a spank, and then you can go into the caning. So you traditionally, like, you would go a little bit softer. It depends on the client. Like, if they want it heavy, you start off a little bit harder. It depends on what the pain threshold is on the day, how they're feeling, what they've asked for. And then I've got clients who used to come in for just like a 20-minute caning, and that was just they drop their pants. You'd thrash them for 20 minutes, and then they'd pull up their pants, and that would be it. And see you later. See you next week. All right. See ya. Have a good week. Bye. And that was it. But it could be, and then there's things like bastonado, which is caning of the feet, which is deliciously terrible. Deliciously terrible. But that's like, and then you've got like, which is more like a school, you have punishment of, you get your hands caned for doing something naughty, which some people is fetishizers. Like that could be, if you're doing like a headmistress role play, you would do like, you cane your hands, you're naughty boy, you haven't done that. But I think there's also because the sound of the cane is fantastic, in my humble opinion. And what I do if it's more of a sort of punishment or role play aspect, and like that headmistress one is quite popular, is that you'll be, cuffed to the bench and I'll be, chastising you for what you have done wrong. And then sometimes I'll just get the cane out and I'll just crack it. It's similar to the gun shooting next to your head, and I'll just crack it right next to your head before I start caning, and then I'll just leave it for a bit.
Okay.
But I love I love the psychology. I love to get into someone's head, but that's why I get off on so much on interrogation, kidnapping, interrogation, and torture sessions. For me, that's one of my ultimate sessions. I love it.
But that's where the fear comes in. I mean, deprivation of the basic things, the sound, the light, and all these things. It can influence people's imagination to work. That's where I say to people, fear, it's a product of imagination, no question asked. Again, thing we learn in academy, but I have imagination. So when you deprive me of something, my senses, my school says to me, you should do this way, but my imagination is like, I see the midgets, or something. So look, so people actually become excited when you start, caning them, right?
Yeah, they can get erections. But then the thing is, I didn't give you permission to get an erection.
What do you mean don't give permission? Okay,
that's sometimes because they'll have a shower, they'll come out, they're erect because they're excited, and I was looking and go, did you get a permission note for that? Because I didn't tell you that you could get hard. Do you want me to punish that? Because there's one way to make that erection go away. I would never do that, of course, unless they've asked for it. I have caned cocks, yes.
Oh my God, it just, okay, so that leads me to the question. Let's talk about men because I'm the man. So I say, why would I turn to you, not to my girlfriend or my wife? Why am I seeking Mistress Lucilla?
Yes, okay.
That's not judgment. It's because you fulfill my fetishes. And the questions we did have something, what to do if your partner doesn't understand my kink?
Yes.
So is that one of the questions? So let's go write this one. My partner doesn't understand my kink.
Yes.
Or I'd come to my girlfriend and say look, I want to, whatever, something, you cane me and whatever, whip me. And she says that you're a sick, twisted mind. Why? And then turn to myself to Miss Lucilla. Okay, well, try to make it.
Okay, a couple of questions. Let's start with, at the very beginning, a very good place to start. Okay, there is two people in a relationship and one is kinky, let's assume it's the man, and the other one is the female. And obviously this can apply to, any kind of setup. So this is actually quite common. That, as we get older, our desires change. We want to experience something. For guys, like having, prostate and putting things up the butt, it's a lot easier to digest receiving it from a woman. You go to your girlfriend or wife saying, hey, I've been thinking about this and I really want you to fuck me up the ass. And what the woman does, and this is a very, very common response, is reject it for a few reasons. And mostly it's because women, I guess, our arousal starts with our mind. Mm-hmm. Mine doesn't, but I'm very masculine, in case you haven't noticed. I'm just like, but most women, it's like their reaction is like, well, what am I not enough for you?
Correct.
Why aren't I good enough? Why? What? And it's just it unravels everything. So I don't think it's necessarily that they're against your kink. It's they can't accept it because they feel upset, less of a person because they don't feel enough for you. And I think that's to get someone to accept your kinks or it's starting with the conversation and being able to position it in a way which is an inclusive conversation rather than saying, I want to do this, it's like, I have this interest, but I want to share this with you, and I know this is perhaps very confronting with you, and I know this is a very difficult conversation to have. I think they have the conversation respectfully and with love versus making it all about you. Like it's probably going back to, neutrality mindset and making it sort of an inclusive experience rather than making it all about you, because then you're a selfish prick and no one gives a shit. So what happens often is that that person can't accept it, but that desire doesn't go away. So it's either, I've seen relationships break up because the desire has been too much that it becomes a non-negotiable. And I've also seen people, adapt their relationships. I've got many permission slips that I've received from partners over the years who will send husbands in with, I give you permission to do these things. And I think that's a really nice way to do that because they're still involved, but they're indirectly involved, yet still giving their permission and consent. Because a lot of people don't get their permission and consent from their partners because they don't have the courage, or they've tried to have the conversation with the partner, or they're too scared or whatever. And, I'm always thrilled when I get a permission note or a consent note or whatever from wives. I think it's fantastic. I had one recently.
So you had couples that come, husband and wife?
Yes.
To you?
Yep.
Okay, please explain to me how this works. Let's just say I have the wife and I don't understand.
So
I need to ask my wife to. So sorry, does my wife finds you, or I find you and I bring my wife?
It could be both.
Okay.
I've had both. Why can't it be both? So it could be we want to learn how to do. So I had one recently where they wanted to explore a daddy baby girl scenario and what.
Okay.
So, and it was. The wife feels like she's always having to direct him. I mean, they run a business together, and he's not comfortable with having to act like daddy and all the language and stuff around. So it was more about teaching him how to, because he's just right, you're a woman, it's boobs, it's pussy, I'm going to get it there. I'm like, no, you have to start here, and you need to start teasing. So it was teaching him how to tease, and other areas such as women love their hair being played with. So should be beautiful hair. And women love their neck being played with. There's all these other erogenous zones that you don't necessarily think about because as men just go, oh, tits, ass, pussy, nah. And that's where they start. But also I think a lot of women haven't got the confidence to be able to speak up about what they want, which is where I come in to help develop that confidence.
I mean, literally, this is, this is not a taboo subject, but it is something we don't hear it enough. That's the reason why the people, obviously looking for some answers in their life, but they don't know where to go. So, guys, I'm gonna put in the comment section below how we can contact Mistress Lucilla. So, explore your darkest fantasies. Plus,
all your lightest doesn't have to be filthy.
Life's which I'm going to ask one question, which is not related to the BDSM, Mistress Lucilla, or something like this, but some woman with experience with all male and females. I want to ask on behalf of every man. Okay, man want to seduce the woman. What is the worst thing he's doing? You say we're seeing the pussy, tits, and all these things, right? Okay. What you can share for every man if he want to seduce the woman, how to act, even if he want to do little, some that dominant role. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think.
I'll tell you something about in my life. I have the relationship. I'll come home, I'll run. Lift against the wall, rip the clothes, and I'll be, sort of told to, go home to my mom, and I'm like, fine. This is. I just wanted to, have the wild sex, whatever. Just say the passion. So, it was that's giving up. You lock it into some type of relationship. You can't escape anymore. You want to escape. It's a dead end. It's a cold. Yep. What Mr. Lucilla can share to everybody, with every man, what they should do to seduce the woman. Play with the hair.
Start with the mind. Start with how you show up.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that we're all very, I guess because of dating apps and this digital world that we're all trapped in, we have become disposable. I think I said recently, we're in the dial-a-dom era, which I'm bored of, but I love. But anyway, that's another question. It's how you show up to that person. So therefore, if you wanting to talk to someone, and compliment, make eye contact, actually have it, don't have your phone on the table if you're going out for a drink. Be present. because that's where you start. Because if you're going like, if I'm talking to you, I'm looking at you. I'm interested in what you have to say. I'm interested in how you want to react. I want to see it. I'm not going to be sitting there going, yeah, and how's your day? That means I'm hearing this noise, but I'm looking, my attention is somewhere else. So therefore, you're not really interested in me. So start with deliberately putting it. So I have a rule: if I go out to dinner or bar or whatever, the phone's in the back, because I'm here to talk to you. I'm here because I'm interested in what you have to say to me, and I want to be available. So start there. Actually have a conversation. Make it interesting. Make it like, because if you start with, rather than just how's your day, dear, it's like, did you hear about this and how did you feel about this? And actually ask questions more than surface level and start to engage cerebrally, and therefore you're going to be easier to understand that person and have open communication, because communication starts and ends all relationships. And whether it's a temporary relationship.
I couldn't agree more with you.
Because if you can communicate to someone about in the good times, you can communicate to someone in the bad times. So I think it's when things are shit and you've got strong, robust communication, you're most likely to reach a solution together rather than avoiding something. Or if you know someone's weakness in some areas and you can communicate that, then you're there to prop them up. So therefore, you're going to be more likely, and this has got nothing to do with sex. The sex is something that comes if you show up in the right way for your partner. And I think because of people don't want to have to do the work to get to the good stuff, they just want to get the good stuff without doing the work. That's the problem. It's like, well, and I think we hear, through conversations with people, overhearing stuff in public places, stuff on TV, in the news, whatever, is that women think men are gronks because of how they act, but also women haven't got, I guess, some women don't feel that they have a voice or know how to use their voice to be able to navigate their way through those situations. And I think we've become so disconnected from each other collectively that we've forgotten how to communicate.
You know what? I like to sit with you. There's one place in Dubai which I'm gonna go often over there.
I've never been.
Oh, really?
Never been.
Okay. Who knows? Maybe your dreams come true with the books app.
Well, who knows?
Well, it's a Aura pool. It's called. I was there last year and in November, I think November. Anyway, long story short. It's on a 52nd floor. It's a beautiful, square type, infinity pool. It's the site on Palm Jumeirah. It's absolutely awesome. And there's all these sunbeds. For the couples. There's one single for Bekes. Anyway, but I was observing how the people they are. Like, let's go back to your Labutin high heels, because every woman there was like maybe mid-20s top, and the guys was like in 60s, right? And they're all on high heels, the silicons and everything else.
Ooh,
but it's all this attractive, but it's not attractive. I think myself, one thing I realized, doesn't matter the guy who is there, he wants to be her, but she's more interested in the phone and, created the content. I said to myself, what's wrong with this guy, with these people? Get that oil, my rub into her, just grab her, Yeah. That's what you say, they're not present. Yeah. Which leads me to my other question, actually, two questions. Oh. Most popular question you've been asked for this interview is, Mistress Lucilla.
Yes.
Are you single?
And what do we think it is? Of course I am. Why would I be stupid enough to date?
Okay, so you're single.
Of course I am, yes. Look, I haven't always been single all my life, but I think I've had relationships. I've tried all that kind of stuff. Monogamy doesn't really suit my lifestyle. And also, you've got to be one fucking hell of a person to be able to date me.
Did you don't discourage everybody to try to date you?
Many have tried and many
failed,
have failed.
Yeah.
And it's not because, I guess, like my job is a barrier to dating.
Yeah.
There's the whole trust issue. A lot of people they get very, very jealous. I don't personally. I don't feel jealousy.
You choose that life, and that life suits you, and people around you like to control.
I'm married to the life.
You're married to the life.
I'm married to the life, and I'm married to my dog Poppy. She's my mistress. She keeps me in check. She's very bossy. But I mean, look, doesn't mean that like it's not going to be forever. But at this point in my life, I have got beautiful people in my life. I'm so blessed. I have got the most amazing friends and family. I have the most amazing community, and that for me gives me so much love and support and everything else. And that for me, it means more than going out. I actually don't even think I've been on a proper date. Actually, it's always sort of had a bit of a kink overlay to it. But
you never know.
Imagine me on a date.
I can imagine you on a date. No, I can imagine. You see, this is where you are dangerous. You know what I mean? Because you can predict situation, but sometimes.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I predict the winning lotto numbers? Let's just see how good I am.
The lotto. You don't want to win the lotto.
No.
The people
I'm
that
not into gambling.
No, it's like you're not in gambling.
No, I don't. No,
okay.
I'm no good at gambling.
Personal fetishes.
Personal fetishes.
We've
talked about the shoes.
Okay, is that only one?
Oh, there's a few. Oh, yeah. There's
okay, the question you got it, and we need to ask. I'm obliged to ask these questions because you've been asked prior to this interview.
Oh, yeah.
Mistress Lucilla, what are your personal fetishes? Okay, we discover you early. It's a leather and the horse, that thing. Then we have the Labutin.
Yes.
37 pairs. Separated
and
counting. Yeah, so like... But now, is there any personal fetishes you like?
Yes.
Okay.
Blood.
Like blood?
Blood.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so this is something that is never really exercised in real life, and it came from when I was doing my apprenticeship. I had a master for the 2-year duration, and so normally what happens in the lifestyle is that when you enter in a dominant submissive dynamic relationship, there's often similar to a wedding ring, you're given something like a collar, and that collar is your symbol that you are owned or that you are protected by someone. Now, Alexander wasn't really into that, so he had a bit of a blood fetish. So his gift to me and vice versa was a blood pact. And that was after, getting each other's blood tested, was drinking each other's blood as a sign that I own you and I am submitting to you. Vice versa. So instead of a collar or something like that, we drank each other's blood. And it's fucking hot. Blood looks hot under candlelight. I love candles. But what I've found is that, I find that so erotic, so arousing. But then, I guess because it's something that I don't do that often, I've now... Again, this is about developing, fetishizing something. I've now fetishized getting blood tests. I get so aroused getting a blood test because it's especially if it's 3 or 4 or 5 vials, I'm like, oh yeah, I hope it's a 5 vial today. And I get really I try not to be overtly aroused. I'm like, how many vials are we doing today? Oh, 5. She's like, will you be okay? I'm like, mm-hmm. And the feeling, it just takes me back to that moment when we did the blood pack, when I love blood.
I want to share something with you because I didn't know you're going to answer. Because I leave this for the last one.
Yeah.
I don't know why this has happened. Honestly, I'm not the guy who just take it everything just coincidence.
Yeah.
I wrote Billy Bob and Angelina Jolie, Blood Pact, because they were, I wrote this at the beginning of the interview.
Stop it.
Seriously. And now you are talking about this thing and I'm going to say to myself, it cannot be. Okay.
That is something.
Because that's what you say. So guys, Mr. Lucilla, personal fetish, it is blood.
Blood. And I do like kidnap and interrogation.
Kidnap interrogations.
Yeah. Apparently I'm very good at it. But...
Okay, so we talk about blood. We talk about Billy Bob, Angelina Jolie.
Yes. Personal fetishes.
Personal fetishes. Look, and we answer the most important questions. Are you single? Okay, so guys, those who are interested now, you know that Mistress Lucilla, she is not single.
I am single.
I just try to see if you are listening. So, lady,
I'm always listening.
Miss Lucilla, she's a single, guys, and I'm going to put the comment section below how you can contact Mistress Lucilla if you have the exploration of your darkest fantasies on social media, even it's not friendly. But I'll put this on some other conversations. Now, I want to talk down into these fetishes. One of the questions you've been asked you've been asked, I didn't even know what that means.
Okay.
Corner time.
Corner time.
Okay, corner time. So explain to us when the people come to you, say like, I
Yes.
want to have a corner time. What is even that means?
Okay. So what is it? And
Yeah.
the question was, what is corner time? The question that was asked. I think the question was, what is corner time, and why does the nose have to touch the wall?
I think that was the question.
That was the question. Okay.
That was a question. You got it.
Yes, that
The
one.
answer.
Okay, so corner time. So if
I didn't know this touched the.
it should. So let me explain what it is. So let's just say the corner is over there. I will send someone to the corner. It's kind of like timeout, and I guess it's an instruction of I don't want you to look at me. So you got to go. It's like naughty corner. Like a lot of this is, I guess, almost like being a toddler. So no, you're getting too much. You go to the corner, and the nose. A lot of it is just to basically have a bit of a timeout, take a bit of a pause in the session, and also make you feel like I don't want to see you. I don't want you to look at me. You are not good at it. Like, you are not worthy of that. And so therefore I'm sending you to the corner as a punishment to take you away from what you want, which is to be in my presence. And the nose touching the wall is to make you feel uncomfortable. And I often tell someone, eyes to the floor, nose to the wall.
Eyes to the floor.
Nose to the wall.
Nose to the wall.
So it's to make you feel uncomfortable. So therefore, like you're in a confined space, so if you're right up into the corner, so you're there, that's not comfortable. And I don't want you to be comfortable. I want you to think in that moment that you are being made to feel uncomfortable for a reason. It's because of your behaviour. And if you are to get what you want, you are to change your behaviour or modify your behaviour to suit what I've asked you to do.
When you're doing this interview, for everybody who is listening right now and watching you, okay? Nobody sees you in the way I see you right now. Does the talking about those things turns you on? I see.
Oh, okay. Does it turn me on? I'm always turned on.
Oh, okay. I like it, that one. Oh my God. What is the most requested fetish from you? That's a question you got it before the interview. What's the most common request you receive? Of course, if you can.
It goes in trends. At the butt stuff / anal, bondage. When I lived in New York, this is very common, not so much anymore because I think we're a little bit more laid back in Australia. Kidnap, interrogation and torture. And cross-dressing.
Okay.
I think it's because my look is quite feminine, even though I guess my energy is quite masculine.
Yes, you are.
I do get, and it's lots of fun. Cross-dressing is lots of fun, and I love it. And I think they're actually quite beautiful. Like all of my cross-dressing clients and people in my circle, there's this real connection, which I think because they're transforming, or they're allowing themselves to be in this space where they are truly themselves, and they're so happy and they're so free, and it's so raw, and I absolutely love that connection because it's like it's their truest self. And that is something that they don't necessarily get to indulge in. Imagine having to be someone else all the time and then only allowing, a couple of hours to be your truest self every couple of months. How shit would that be? So I find that really, really beautiful. I love that.
You say this with so much compassion.
I just because it is there's so many stories and so many people that I've encountered that have had their true self, which is manifested where they're quite young, 5, 6, 7 and beyond, that they've had to suppress, Candy or Cindy or whatever the name they call that. So you have to be, you're a man, right? You are obviously you're a man. But inside you is this, and this is obviously before, the transgender has become, as accessible more as it is today. Yeah. And you have to suppress that all your life, and it's this burning desire, and you sneak in and you wear your mother's pantyhose, and it's the feeling of the silk, and it's the feeling of the lipstick, and when you feel it, you feel complete and you feel whole and you feel happy. but it's in secret. And it's in these fleeting moments throughout your life. And then all of a sudden you get to the point where you're like, I can't, and it comes back to, your partner understanding your kinks, where I can't continue unless I have this time. And that's why I guess you can come to see someone like me, because I will help you and give you the safe space without any judgment, where you can be your true self and explore all your fetishes without any consequence for
any judgment, any consequence.
And like I think that I've seen people, this cathartic release of joy when they're transformed, which I just think is just so beautiful.
Do you understand how I say to you, like, you should? I didn't ask this question at the beginning because I didn't want to go into that depth, because I want to leave some things with you for some other times, because I truly believe that you should write. Perception in the media, it is about BDSM, 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh,
right?
That's a hard limit. Hard limit. Mercy.
I didn't want to talk about this. Okay, so, mercy on you. Mercy on you. Okay. So see, that's what it is. I mean, I remember every woman was running into the cinema. I said to myself, isn't it interesting that men should go in the cinema to watch?
No one should see that. Terrible.
I know, but that's like, obviously there's a big desire to know these things, to women be controlled, or how to say, submissive, you know what I mean? Because I think that was the reason actually behind the movie, right?
Yeah. Well, it was in the terrible book. I heard that it was, I think, maybe like propaganda for Mormonism or something like that. I don't know. I haven't read it. I don't want to know anything about it.
I have a question now.
Yes.
If I'm the client of
Are you
yours,
going to say sorry for saying those terrible words to me?
do I say sorry to you?
Yes.
For what?
You made me say mercy for saying those.
Okay, mercy.
I
think that doesn't happen often, that Mistress Lucilla, she says mercy.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, okay. The question
was
for
that? Why were you celebrating that
every possible client who comes to you, it's a judgment-free environment, and as I say, you are very happy to fulfill desires, their kink, their fetishes. You know what I mean? Whatever they are.
Legal, right?
Yeah. Okay, as long as legal. We'll come to this one.
Yes.
But what if the desire involves that you bring third person? As we say, we talk about transsexual. Some clients maybe just want you and transsexual, or maybe wants another woman, another dominatrix with you.
Yeah, we do.
Can you cater for this? Or
Okay.
I'm not sure what's the word for that one.
Yes. Okay. So doing doubles is definitely possible. I do have some doubles partners that haven't been active for a while. I probably need to give her a bit of a poke. So that's fine. Now the trans question is a tricky one.
Why?
Because a lot of trans women who are sex workers don't like biologically born women around. So I've actually reached out to a few.
Okay. What if it's a man in question?
So if I have a client who wants, this is quite a common request, because like after this is good common. Yeah. Trans is so in right now.
Why?
With straight men. I think it's because it's more accessible, and it's like you get the best of both worlds. You get hot-looking woman with a dick that you can suck. Sure. And if you're sort of like leaning towards sort of bi-curious stuff, it's actually probably more easier to delve into that kind of area because you're kind of getting the best of you. Not like you're sucking another dude's dick. You are, but you're not. But like it's complex.
I love it. Seriously. I love how you say this. You know, like, yeah, you're sucking the dick, but he's not sucking the dick.
You're sucking the dick.
Okay.
So it's dubious. But anyway, so a lot of trans sex workers that I have reached, and I've reached out to a lot, don't want
women around.
I don't biologically born women around. I'm just like, well, why not? It's like, no, not interested. But if it's just a one-on-one with a man client, absolutely no problem. But if it's a dominatrix asking the trans to come in for part of the session, I've yet to find that person who's open to that. And I know that.
So that's open invitation. If you're trans and you're looking to work with Mistress Lucilla. Comment section below, guys. Just reach Lucilla, okay?
But I know I have one of my beautiful girlfriends. She's got a bit of a thing for trans, and she's tried to book trans sex workers, and majority of them will say no.
See, that's the thing is
because
of obviously,
preference,
and
that's okay. But it is out there, but it's a bit of a unicorn.
It's a it is unicorn.
It is unicorn.
It's unicorn.
Today it's a unicorn. Tomorrow it might not be. You never know. Never say never. What else you got?
Oh, I have a few of them, but that's a question you received. Okay. Non-negotiable boundaries.
Okay.
Let's not talk about this one. So it's because
the non-negotiable boundaries. So, I practice safe, sane, and consensual BDSM. What that means is safe. Everything that I do to you is in a safe way, in a clean environment. Sane. So, within the realms of sanity, which means like things like bestialities, big fat no. And then consensual. I will do what you ask, nothing more, nothing less, and you do the same to me. So with things like, I would say the majority of my people are wonderful. I have had a few one-offs over the past 25 years when I've just gone, what the fuck? This is a gut instinct, so always trust your gut instinct. I don't know why I took this. Yeah. Always, I'm like, something's off about this, I shouldn't take this booking. And it's often people who, I don't know what I want, can't make eye contact a bit, so I'm like, okay, so English was not the first language, so we had to take a little bit of time to get there. But anyway, so they wanted to be tied up, face slapping, and spat on. Okay, great. And I said, have you had a face slapping before? No. Have you had spit before? And I always ask, what areas do you want to be spat on? Because like it could be very specific. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I'm like, okay, well, and I'll say just so I'm clear, I will be spitting on your face, on your cheeks, and around your mouth. Is that okay? Yes, that's fine. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Just check. Particularly, this wasn't too long after we got out of lockdown with COVID, so spit's still like a bit of a thing. Anyway, so I'm going to do, and I just like your hairs on the back of your neck are starting to stand up on that. Something's fucking wrong. I'm like, Anyway, so I'm going to get the cuffs off the rack, and I often like don't turn my back too often because
safety issues. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
especially when there's a bit of a stranger danger with this one. And this golly goes flying past my head on the wall. Spit. I turned around. Excuse me. Explain what you just did. Oh, spit on you, mistress. I said, excuse me, no. I did not consent to that. You asked me to spit on you. You do not spit on me. This is your first warning.
Okay.
And I said, he's like, you're going to be my spit slut. I said, no. That is not what the session is. And I reminded this person what the session was. I said, I consent to doing these things, nothing more, nothing less. Are we clear? Are we ready to move on? Yes. Oh, sorry. I just go to start cuffing, spits in my face.
Yeah, just I love your body language. Like, just give us more.
Spits in my face. I get a tissue. I wipe it off, and I said, "Final warning. You have now violated this consent twice. I will give you one more chance, because this is your first time." I said, "Are you not clear about what the session is? Do you not understand what I'm saying?" Yes. I'm just a bit excited. So then, because he's shorter than me, which is very rare because I'm so obviously 5'5" and very short. He then, I knew something was wrong, and then I went to go and put the tissue down, and then he tried to strangle me. So luckily, like I could feel something was wrong. I could feel like, I don't know, again, gut instinct. I could feel like a hand around the rack of my neck. I just knock him to the ground, kick him out with his clothes. I get the fuck out. You got 5 seconds before I call the police. So I work out for a reason.
Gut instinct, it's very important.
Oh, yeah.
When something's not right, something's not usually, it's usually not right, yeah.
So, yeah, I couldn't tell you many of those stories about me being in danger. I've been very, very, very fortunate in my career. I think because I've been lucky enough to attract, like attracts like. That's not always the case for anybody, but that's probably the most danger I've ever been put in. So I'm very, very fortunate and blessed. I know that's definitely not the case for anybody, but I think I choose my sessions wisely. I put in things where, like, I won't work late at night unless I know you, because I don't. If you're drinking, if there's drink, there's no kink, because therefore you can't consent properly. The consent is violated. Drugs, no kink. Ugh. So I, take precautions to make sure that I'm the safest environment that I can be, and I'm operating in the safest way.
I have that question now. Let's say I'll try to wind up, but
no, that's okay.
We can't, because it's more questions coming in, right?
Yeah.
Somebody it's curious, right,
Yes.
and he wants to explore the kink, right? How that person should approach you?
That's a great question, because if I showed you my phone, I could show you how not to approach me.
That's a very important.
Because if you're being genuine, I don't want to say authentic. We are using the word authentic too much. It's becoming like it's genuine. Like if you make a genuine inquiry, where I would say, like, email is good because obviously it's a little bit longer to digest, or text and say, "Hi, mistress, my name is whatever." You don't have to give me your real name. What's in the name? I am interested in exploring butt stuff, bondage, and maybe attire and tease, or whatever it could be. Or let's say I'm interested in exploring these 3 things. I'm new to this, or I've had a little bit of experience before. I'd like to see you on this time and date. Can you please let me know your rates and what your availability is? That to me sounds genuine, rather than, "Hey, you up?" Or "Hi," or "Hey, babe." So to those, I will respond. If I get like something I look at my phone between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Nothing more, nothing less. Because obviously, I've got to go to bed, and it's like I have a fetish for going to sleep. It's a beautiful thing.
It's the best fetish ever. Yeah.
But also after 9 p.m, like there's a really big chance that's when you get what we call the time wasters, of like, "Oh, hey, mistress." Like, I think a few of the questions I got on that app was just like, "Hey, mistress, can you torture me?" "Yeah, I can, dickhead. Of course I can." But yeah.
That is on a mistress, yes.
I don't know, can I? Let me just see. Oh. So with things like that, and like I think if it's more like, I've seen you before or whatever, like a genuine inquiry is going to get a genuine response. A shitty inquiry is just going to get you blocked. It's very simple. I don't waste my time because I don't have time to waste. So don't try.
That's a fair. Tell me something. What's the weirdest request you got?
Define weird.
Well, I don't know. Like we talk about sanity, spitting, whatever it is, What would be for you? Like for you was like, you need to.
A bit of a one-off.
Yeah, like.
There's one which is really, really, really. I probably can't go into too much detail.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether this content is right to talk about, considering the landscape of the world at the moment. But race and religion fetish, that someone has fetishized their religion.
Yeah.
And all I can really say is that they were Hasidic Jewish and had fetishized the worst thing possible.
Okay, interesting.
They may have had, They came in and they had, and obviously this is when I lived in New York, and I won't go into the details of the session because it's just
it's not important.
But it was, couldn't make eye contact with me, very, very nervous. Like, I've only got half an hour. I'll be here next Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Half an hour only.
That was it. Because they definitely weren't supposed to be there.
Okay. Hey.
I don't know what to do with this, but I feel aroused when I see this stuff. That is the most horrific crime ever against Jewish people. Because I'm ashamed. I don't know what to do with it. I want you to get rid of this for me.
Okay.
It's almost like I want you to exercise this from me.
Okay.
So I don't have to feel. I just want it out of. I just want to do something with it, and I want it out of me forever. And there was. I was like, okay, what do I do with this? And so I had 6 days to sort it out. Yeah, it was. Oh.
That is very interesting.
Wild.
And a lot of people they have that. So let's go talk now about you as a person, right? What do you do when you don't do what you do? Okay, when you don't do, you sleep.
I love sleeping. What do I do? I love...
What series you love most? Do you watching Netflix? Do you watching some of these shows?
I'm watching Billions at the moment, actually.
Billions?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's a... Did you watch Peaky Blinders maybe?
Yes, loved Peaky Blinders.
Oh my! I was watching one after each other. I was
Yes.
like, oh my God, this is good.
That was
But
good.
there's a kink as well. Well, she was a kink mistress.
A lot of
Oh.
people told me about, they're like, oh, you have to watch Billions. And me having oppositional defiance
Yeah.
disorder, the more you tell me to do something, the less I'm going to do it. So, but eventually I got into it. And
Yeah.
it was, I feel like the kink was in the first season with a few scenes. Which
Yeah, it
cute,
was like,
but
you know, like he was being drawn into that, you know, sort of like a pain,
Yes.
whatever it is, like, you know.
Such a little cock bitch. I love
Yeah.
it.
Oh, do you love it, this, huh?
But I love Bobby Axelrod. I love just how twisted and
In Twisted, yeah.
very, very, very fucked up man. I love it.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. But what do I do? So I love going to restaurants, which is I love food. I love food. I love sleeping. I read a lot. I watch and listen to, like, I'm very curious, like, about people and about what motivates people. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. I watch a lot of documentaries. I'm definitely not an introvert, but I don't like to be amongst huge crowds of people all the time. I find it, because obviously, like, when I'm on, and, like, you know, we all have, you know, social batteries, and my battery can run flat pretty quickly these days. So obviously I've got Poppy, my German Shepherd, who I love. So she's my mistress. She gets me up and she tells me what we're doing for the day.
Yes.
Running her
So you have
around.
emotional support at home, right? Which is your shepherd.
Which is my shepherd. Yeah, she's Mistress Poppy, I'll call her.
Mrs. Poppy.
She gives you a paw in the face at 5 a.m. Get up. I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. And it's being available to see the people in my life. There was a couple of questions I came through on the app, which I'm not surprised by. Of, like, you know, when can I see you? I haven't seen you for so long. And last year, because I travelled so much, like
Yeah, that was the one of the questions. Like, why don't do so much touring in Melbourne?
I've just been to Melbourne.
Okay,
I
so
think
how the people gonna know that you're touring in Melbourne? What they don't see it when they miss it?
When they miss it. Well, firstly, so I advertise my tours on my website and also on escort directories such as Ivy Society, which is a Australian-owned escort done by a beautiful sex worker in Melbourne who's done great things for the community. Ivy Society in Scarlet Blue, so I advertise my tours there. I've done 3 tours already. I've been to Queensland twice and Melbourne once, and it's only March.
This year, right?
Yeah, this year.
Oh my God, yeah.
So normally I'm sort of gone, like last year I toured a lot. I had this real, like, ants in my pants that I needed to do it. I think I was chasing platinum with Qantas and I got it.
Did you?
But since I've got it, I haven't flown anywhere. How ironic. But like I love traveling. But I think also it's a cost of traveling as well.
Okay, if I say you have a client who says, I want you 7 days in Singapore with me.
Yes.
You do this?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Guys.
Fly me to you is quite a common request, but then when it comes down to the cost, I don't hear from them again.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You know, this is a luxury item. This is not an essential.
Well, you are a luxury item. You know, I mean, you're not just any asexual worker. You are Mistress Lucilla. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a top shelf thing. You know what I mean?
Although I'm not the most expensive dom out there. Like, I actually had a look the other day about what some people are charging. I'm like, you're charging fucking what for what? You nuts? Like, and people are fucking paying it. I'm like, I haven't put my rates up in about 5-6 years, and I don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Guys, you need to catch up. On all rates. But you know what I noticed with your nails? It's a Labutin nails.
Yes.
It's a red. Am I right?
You are right. Yes. There you go. So these were done because I got invited to a Louboutin event earlier this week because they've just released their collaboration with Maison Margiela, which is John Galliano, and so they were done for the event.
Yeah.
To match my shoes.
Well,
I know, very matchy, cutie, isn't it? Cute.
Look, you're full of energy. Like no question asked. You're absolutely right. You're 5'5" tall. You know what I mean? But you have the punch. You know what I mean? You're full of energy. You're a very compassionate woman.
Thank you.
No, seriously, you are, because you don't talk, just a point of view like a business and transaction and everything else, but you care about people who comes to you. Plus, you're reading people very well, you know what I mean? So, like, what's the future for you looks like? If I can ask, you know what I mean, apart maybe one day you're going to have the boyfriend, you know what I mean, maybe another shepherd.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah?
I don't think I could handle.
Is there anything what you wanted to do in the future?
Yes,
What?
but I haven't done yet.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, well, there's a lot of places I haven't been in the world, and I
Okay.
think personally I'd like to see more of the world.
More
I
of
think
the world.
I'm up and down this East Coast, like
As a Mistress Lucilla or as a Lucilla?
both. Why
As a
not?
both,
Traveling touring internationally from Australia is hard and it's expensive. I've just had to cancel going to London and Paris this year just because I can't afford it. Unfortunately, just like the cost is just too much. So I will be coming back to hopefully Europe next year because I wanted to go to. Anyway, we're not going to talk about it. 'Cause it's
No, it
really
is like,
sad.
look, I have somebody.
But that's the reality of it. Like,
I
touring
do a lot of work in
internationally
Dubai, and Dubai is like, it's a sausage party over there. 70% of men, 30% of women.
Yeah.
But it's let's just say Dubai as a Dubai. It's not a arena because in Dubai you don't get money. That's what most of people talk about. They get money. It's not the money. You get the presents from. But Europe. So guys, Mistress Lucilla, she's looking to explore the world, and if you're one of the willing.
Transfer me some of your points.
Yeah, transfer some points.
No, I mean, look, I don't ask for gifts or anything else like that because, like,
I know you know, but that's a seller. This is what makes you very unique person. You know what I mean? You don't talk about transactions. Sorry, interrupt you. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Strike two. You've been a very naughty man.
No, I'm not. I'm naughty. I'm not naughty man. I'm not naughty man. Like, when I was doing my evaluation, I mean, and particularly when I was after the military, when I was in diplomatic intelligence, you have all these type of evaluations. If you start fitting too much in society, you're not good enough because you're supposed to be like a lone wolf. And all my life, I was sort of. And then, on that part, you met people say like, "Oh, you only need the love." I say like, "Man, what is the love anymore?" But I think it is.
Re-entry into civilian life is very difficult out here. I've read a lot about it. I've talked to a few people about it. I've had it.
It is, but like, I'm grateful that I'm in this country, and I make a conscious decision that I need to adapt, adjust myself. However, I have the parallel world in my life, whether my goals, desires, and whatever you want to call them, they must be fulfilled. And I mean, but it's not reserved for everybody. It's just for the very one Mario, two Marios. That's it. So,
and that's our goals and our desires change.
Yes,
like I've got some goals for this year. Like I need to be better with content. I need to be more regular with posting content, which I hate. And I need to actually, the rubber needs to hit the road with me getting this book, whatever it's going to look like, done. I think one of the questions was like, I keep being asked all the time, when are you going? Because I've done quite over the few years, a few podcasts here and there, which I love. As you can tell, I love talking. But everyone's like, when are you going to have your own podcast? I'm like, oh man, I need to just put it like, yeah. But maybe, who knows? Never say never. But I think it's about being. So last year I was traveling a lot, and I wasn't really available to anyone, because I was traveling, and I wasn't really available to myself. It's just you're going through the motions and doing stuff. So I think this year it's kind of like, let's just slow it down a little bit. Be present, be available, and actually just see what comes out of it. So you do have the time, space, and energy to do stuff like content. I think my creativity was definitely inhibited by just this constant traveling.
Yes.
And it's draining. So therefore, I think I need to be... just slow things down just a little bit. Not going to say I'm not going to tour again. I'm sure I'll pack up in a couple of weeks because I get annoyed with Sydney. But it's just giving myself the time to create is important, and that's coming down to sessions as well. Because if I'm just going back to back to back to back to back, I don't do that anymore. I used to. There's two reasons I don't do that. It's like it's quality rather than quantity. I want to make sure that I'm giving you my absolute best, so I'm full of energy, I'm fully recharged. My creativity is at its best.
And for that, I'm grateful today because it's like, it takes a lot of, it's you're sacrificing your time to be here today on a podcast. And I today got the best, I think, from you. Even you've been once before here in the studio. And that's like, I wasn't expecting my conversation is going to go with you, in different directions, you know what I mean? But I know that people's going to be curious now, they know what you can do for them. But how they can find you, Lucilla? I mean, I'm going to put the comment section in,
yeah,
some social media, but you prefer the email and...
Actually, before I answer that question, you said I've sacrificed. I haven't sacrificed anything. I've invested my time to be here.
Okay, I
So, yeah.
apologize.
But I think,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I choose where I want to put my time, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for you, Murray, and I'm very grateful that I'm here today and that you've asked me on your wonderful show. So thank you. Like, I love what you do, and I think it's really, really great, and I'm more than happy to be involved. So it's definitely not a sacrifice. I love being here, and I think we've had a great conversation. So thank you.
No,
I appreciate
you.
how people can find me, I have a website, mistresslucilla.com.au. I have all the socials. I'm on Instagram, which I lurk on a lot. Last of Lucilla, because this is my 6th Instagram account, and I hope I don't have to lose it again. I'm on X/Twitter, but I think I am search suggestion banned. So if the icon is on my website, because if you type it in, you'll probably get spam accounts, not me. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Snapchat. I'm on FetLife. I'm on all the escort directories. I'm everywhere.
I need to write things down. TikTok. I need to stalk you on TikTok.
Oh, it's so boring.
No, but
It's so boring.
Guys, I'm gonna put Mistress Lucilla all the contact details in the description section. Feel free to contact Mistress Lucilla. No judgment. You feel free to express your kink, your desire, your fetishes, and Mistress Lucilla, she's gonna make it best for her to.
We'll respond to genuine inquiries only.
Genuine inquiries only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. After 9 p.m., drugs, drinks involved. Guys, I'm sorry, she will not reply. Miss Lucilla, I just want to say thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful to spend some time with you.
It's like, because it's a 37 pair of shoes, Labutin. It's, you know what I mean? Today we got the best guys. It's going to be another interview, that's for sure. So thank you, Lucilla.
Thank you very much.